Good evening, joyful Catholic Hermit here. I thought I should do one update at least, see how it goes, but on trusting in the Lord and waiting on the Lord, in humility, I did have a follow-up appointment with a different surgeon this afternoon, and I wasn't expecting it to go well at all because of reviews I'd read. And personality and abrupt and whatever, but also honest. So I thought, well, I might like that for a change, And there were no middle people involved. He spent maybe an hour and a half with me, explained a lot of things about the back. I had decided, to say very little of anything. I prayed right beforehand for the Holy Spirit to speak through me if I was to speak at all. And of course, he did want to know, why the surgery was canceled with the other surgeon, who is his partner. But this particular surgeon only is there 2 weeks and then lives elsewhere for 2 weeks and works elsewhere. So it's a little different setup. But so I very carefully worded, that I had answered honestly a couple questions that I realized I shouldn't have, especially not being in front of the person, not having ever met the person who was asking the questions and the hullabaloo that followed, but that, I thought that had gotten straightened out, but then no, it, still was canceled. And but I didn't dwell on that, but he went very carefully over the MRIs, CT scan, and explained a lot of things, had a little different take on the degree of the stenosis, and also was very realistic that I could end up in worse pain, or my lumbar pain is not going to change much, but it would be the nerve pain down the legs, and then not risking weakness and losing mobility. But that had been presented to me as if, it could happen any time. And of course, I was very stressed. I'd just gotten this hermitage that needs updating because I like projects. It's good for me to be forced to keep active and move around. Painting walls is better than standing in one place, and sitting is very hard for me. So I thought, well, that would be sort of fun. And I had the idea of, preparing it for a family. Someday a family would live here. So it was fun imagining, what a family might like. But, of course, then I thought, my goodness, I'm going to be paralyzed. I'll need to sell and deal, get rid of things. And, it was stressful. I admit it. So, and then I admitted to this doctor that I, learned another lesson, and that's not to talk on the phone with anyone who does not know me well when I'm in a pain siege. I said I get grumpy, I get sharp-tongued, and, sometimes even just practically out of my mind with the pain. So, and then, when the pain sieges ease, I'm doing better. I did try to, cover up some of the dark circles and drew on my eyebrows. I lost my eyebrows in the stress of the last place I lived in. It was hard life, very hard life for 5.5 years. So, I thought, don't go in looking like some unhinged lunatic, I guess. But it turned out very, very well. He was very methodical, very excellent, but as it turns out, he doesn't do instrumentation, meaning rods and screws. He does just stenosis decompression surgery, which doesn't involve anything else. But he explained I do need to have the rods and screws to correct the stenosis due to the other instrumentation. And he did read the notes, and I guess, at the end, asked me even more questions. He wanted more, why. So I mentioned, that I had fulfilled the 2 conditions, but still had the phone call saying, this other surgeon would never operate on me. And I also mentioned that, at one point I'd been told that it wouldn't be successful because of my bone density. And, well, who said that? And I said, well, a PA. And he said, well, that wasn't the surgeon. And I said, no. He said it wasn't optimum, but was going to operate on me. It would have been I think 3 weeks ago now. But that all got changed and delayed. And I said, but I thought maybe the surgeon had changed his mind, so I kept asking the nurse and, to please find out. Because I certainly didn't want to have a surgery that wasn't going to be successful. Why go through all that? So anyway, the long and short of it was that it was just amazing. And the more relaxed I could be and be more myself, I think even the better it went. And at the very end, I said that I shouldn't have answered honestly, that I've learned some cases you don't. And he says, I tend to think it's always best to answer honestly, no matter what. And I said, well, that's how I'd always operated before. But I said, at minimum, I need to not answer serious questions over the phone with someone who has never met me and doesn't know me, that they can easily be misconstrued. But between you and me, I could tell the devil was involved, and then God had allowed it. This has been quite a process for me to learn more the discernment of spirits, and also to, so anyway, this surgeon, feels that I need to get back with the other surgeon, get it worked out. And I said, well, I wanted to, I would. Even my son wanted to. He's a producer in big city and wanted to call and beg, please, give my mother a chance. But I said there'd be no way to get through. And I certainly couldn't get through because of the PA and the nurse, who I said I'm obviously have offended, or, great miscommunication issue had gone on. So for which I'm very, very sorry. I said, I'm just so sorry because I'm not that kind of person. And although, then I admitted my grumpiness and out of my mind when I get in bad pain. So you just seem to think that was, he's been a surgeon, I guess, 34 years. So maybe he liked my honesty. Obviously he did. So he's going to try to work it out through the office manager. But if that doesn't work out, then I'll get a third option. He did look through the system, and the nurse had not written as strident and condemning comments that were twisted and untrue that she had sent to my pain doctor. So that was a relief. And thankfully, my pain doctor knows me well enough, so that worked out. But he was upset with me, my pain doctor was, and I have apologized to everyone. And I often do, but I have learned now, I have another little rule for myself: do not answer the phone when I'm in too much pain or a pain siege, unless it's the, 4 people or so, family members who know me well, and know what the pain does to me and how excruciating it gets. And usually they don't even call, I might email, because that's a catharsis for me, a distraction. The surgeon did ask, how do you get through those pain sieges? And I told him that that medication at that point isn't enough. Years ago, before the crisis, a doctor in one place would send a home health care nurse and give me a massive injection of Demerol and Vistarol just to knock me out. I'd be knocked out for like 24 hours. My kids wouldn't have, they were little then, wouldn't have to deal with their mother suffering like that. But now I said I just try to distract myself, hang on for dear life, and pray. I said I pray. So, because at that point, really, pain medication that I have isn't going to do much more, so there's no point in taking more. Get through it. And he asked too, he says, what have you done all these years? And I remembered the doctor that I was sent to get cleared, that I wasn't harmed to myself or whatever. He had asked me, you haven't used your degree, your doctorate from USC, you haven't used it. And I said, well, I did at first, but, then when the surgery came and I lost my career and couldn't work anymore because of these pain sieges and the constant pain, I wasn't prepared to answer. But I've used my doctorate in many ways, and plus the over half a doctorate in clinical psychology that I started. I've had a historical biographical novel that was published that I wrote. Used a pen name. I really like anonymity. I always have. That was way back when I was Protestant. I was a columnist for 2 newspapers. I used my organizational leadership aspect of my 1 doctorate for started a big soup kitchen. It evolved and got enormous. It's still running. I had over 300 volunteers within 2 or 3 months. It wasn't me, it was the Holy Spirit, and it was the Virgin Mary. Virgin Mary gave me the idea of how to set it up. It was a different type of soup kitchen where we would deliver to the people. It's a smaller community, and then people wouldn't have to be reminded we're poor. We're going to this place with all these other poor people. People will see us walking to this soup kitchen. No, we delivered, and it wasn't just poor. It was anyone. Poor in spirit, poor in hurt feelings, divorcees, single older people recovering from surgeries, or it was a different structure. And the Virgin Mary showed me in a dream how what she wanted and how she wanted it handled. So that, and I've had articles published, spiritual and a lot of things about pain. I stopped doing that because a lot of times they wouldn't. One was in Guidepost magazine about my angel. They wouldn't do a pen name. They wouldn't use. So I really didn't continue with sending articles to be published. Or they wanted photo plus name and location, and so I like my anonymity. Anyway, this all worked out very well. He since I can't get through to the other surgeon, and of course I said at least at minimum I want him to know how sorry I am, and I'm not really as horrible maybe I am, but try not to be as I was being portrayed. And I said it was gotten to be sort of like the telephone game with all these people with their messages, and I only saw that other surgeon 10 minutes. So that's his office paradigm. I can't do anything about it, but in my particular case, didn't seem that effective. And this surgeon also felt that it was quite reasonable that I wanted to have other options for my bone health with the medications rather than just one. So I had that appointment tomorrow, and he said, get all that information, whatever they decide, have it sent to this neurosurgery group. They're his and the other surgeon, they're partners. So he's going to talk with the office manager tomorrow. It was too late today. She was gone. And try to get it straightened out. So, and he said, if not, then get a third opinion. But he does not do the rods and instrumentation, so he couldn't operate on me anyway. And he said, maybe I could live with it. Who knows? And I sort of like that idea. Who wants to go through a horrible surgery says I could end up with worse pain. You never know when you start talking back surgeries. And it would also, at some point, go up another level. So I'd have to have another surgery. Because once you have fusion and rods, the vertebrae and discs and everything right above that take all of the damage, the pressure. And I was very careful not to say that I would certainly hope that if I had to have another one if they do this one, that I wouldn't be around anymore. I'm very careful not to mention anything about dying. just, and I think I've learned that lesson that not everybody has the joyous longing for that, and and that it's okay. Not everyone's had a marvelous death experience, which I had back in 1987. That was just so glorious that it was depressing being back. But of course, I appreciated that. God was so real, and I still want to do my mission in life. So anyway, we got to wait on the Lord and just let things roll out. And I am thankful I have a sense of humor and got through that horrible situation of being rejected by who's known as the best surgeon in the region. So we'll see, but I don't need to have best, God will choose, and maybe I won't have surgery. Well, I don't want to be paralyzed. Three professionals have said that would be what's going to happen. And the PAs had made it seem like it just could happen any time. And of course I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm glad not to have that stress. I've been up more, been able to do a few things. Granted, it's very painful, and I know what not to do to cause my legs to go numb. What not to stand, not to walk long, not to stand in one spot. So everybody hang in there with life. We just have to keep persevering and then learn the lessons that God is teaching us as we go along. And I think I learned a couple of big ones with this whole situation. And if nothing else, I asked the surgeon today to please let the others know that I'm very sorry and that I did not mean to come off in whatever way they heard from me or thought I was, that I'm sorry about that. And so that's what we do in life. We onward and forward, don't we? And we try to improve by the grace of God. God bless His real presence in you.